Now, Chris Paul was on Gilbert Arenas' podcast, and Gilbert Arenas happened to talk to Chris Paul as to what would have happened had that trade gone through and why the league had to veto it.
So Orlando, they're trying to figure out if they were going to throw me in the deal and force Lakers, if you want Dwight, you're going to have to take Gilbert's contract too.
Right? Oh, you was going to come to the Lakers too?
Then I was probably going to get amnestied.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
then, right.
Because I'll tell you one day what me and Cole said on the phone when we was talking about that. Because Dwight was for sure probably about to come with us too.
Yeah. So basically, after all y'all, the super team got together, y'all had too much money left over. That was the reason it got nicked. So Dan Fagan hit Mark Cuban and did the numbers, and it would have like destroyed the league for at least 10 years.
What, if the trade would have happened?
So if you went, Dwight went, you guys had about $24 to $30 million left in cap space. So at that time, you're talking about the starting price about 12, 13 million on the max contract.
Mm-hmm.
So you got 3 max players right there with you can go get 2 more max players.
That was Gilbert Arenas explaining to Chris Paul as to why the NBA trade did not happen. Why were you laughing? Was it did you have something to say, Mike?
Well, it's just funny the way you phrased that Gilbert Arenas was explaining to Chris Paul how business in the NBA works. Because apparently, Chris Paul is supposed to be, the head of the union, and, the guy who's supposed to be on top of all this stuff, and, the man on the know, ear to the streets.
And it wasn't like Chris Paul wasn't the person that was going to be traded, right? That was like, what? But yeah, no, you made a good point during the break. You're like, isn't he the president of the Players Union? I was just like, yeah, he is. And that's when it dawned on me, so that's why I had to get you involved there. Dan Fagan was an NBA agent and lawyer, so that's who they're referring to in the clip. Dan Fagan talked to Mark Cuban.
Any relation to Harrison?
No relation to Harrison Fagan. This one spells his name differently. It's Fegan. And Dan Fagan actually passed away on February 25th, 2018. So,
any relation to Donald Fagan?
Who's Donald Fagan?
Steely Dan, baby.
Oh. Is Donald Fagan related to Donald Trump? No, I don't know. Anyways, the thing, Mark Cuban was a very vocal opponent about that trade. He was I would say he was the leading owner at that time that came out about that trade and was like, hey, get that off the table real fast, because it's not like the Dallas Mavericks signed superstar after superstar every free agency, right? Like I didn't want to take a hit because I'm trying to have a Dallas Mavericks person come on next week, but since he didn't show up, I'm going to take that hit. Yeah, I said it. That was one of my questions I have. Why is the Dallas Mavericks, why were they the first team to probably have a billionaire as their owner, right? The first NBA team to have a billionaire as their owner. And can you think of a big name free agent that happened to sign with the Dallas Mavericks? DeAndre Jordan, when he was in his prime, right? Was it that? No, because Luka was drafted. They traded for Dirk. I think Steve Nash was someone that was a backup at the time because he wanted more playing time. So he left the Phoenix Suns, who originally had Jason Kidd. And then that's where Nash got to shine. I'm trying to think.
The Mavs did have Jason Kidd for a while, though, too, didn't they?
But that's like when they won the championship, or around the championship time. So if he didn't win one in 2011, he was around that era. Like Vince Carter is around that same time, too. Kristaps Porzingis was a trade with the New York Knicks. So that's the thing. Like, if you're the Dallas Mavericks, you're always sitting at the table for free agency, but you're always the person that's going to leave, like, in the middle of it. You're never going to be the last person to leave the table, because the last person that leaves the table will always be there with the team to stay forever. Or maybe I should say not forever. For like the season, maybe a couple seasons if it works out, right? The Dallas Mavericks never signed somebody that good, which is why Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban is always going like, oh, look at the Lakers. Oh, look at whatever insert the hot team that it is this season, like the Miami Heat back in 2012, or even the Brooklyn Nets now. So Mark Cuban always has to do the, look at this team, look at that team, Kobe amnesty. Like, he has to be the crybaby because nobody wants to go play for the Dallas Mavericks. Did they have much luck this offseason trying to get an all-star cast to surround for their all-star young player in Luka Doncic? No. Who did they get? They re-signed J.J. Redick. Good job. That will do it. I do think they could pull off big trades, but they never can land a free agent that's a superstar. You had DeMar DeRozan on the table. All he had to do was just go up north, travel up the I-95. Is that a real freeway? You had to travel up a freeway in Texas. I'm not really familiar with the freeways. But anyways, DeMar DeRozan was in the same state as you. You could have had him. He's not really a star, but he's a star. DeMar DeRozan would have been a great fit for the Dallas Mavericks. But anyways, he ended up going to LA. Or excuse me, he should have gone to LA. He should have gone to LA. He went to the Miami Heat. Back to this trade, there are some things that kind of irked me because when Gilbert Arenas said 20 to 30 million left in the Laker cap space, Gilbert Arenas said 20 to 30 million. I was like, I don't think the franchise had 20 or 30 million left in the on the cap space. So I did my own research. This is what I came up with. So Mike, if you can please, in 2012, 2013, which was the same the year before, which is around that trade when it would have happened during the lockout season. So in July 10th, 2012, this official NBA communications report went out. 2012-2013 season, the luxury salary cap will be $58.44 million. And it had been set to $70.3 million. So every dollar that goes over, you will be taxed $1. That is Dwight Howard's contract at the time. So 2010, 2011, if he had been traded while he was with the Orlando Magic at that time, he would have been $16 million. $16.6 million. This is Kobe Bryant's contracts over the years. So the first one at the bottom is 2004 to 2010. Then he renewed for 3 years, and that would have been $27.8 million a year. And then I added the one at the top because that was the part where I don't feel as if he deserved that. But anyways, 2014, 2015, he was paid 2 years and about $24.2 million a year. So next one, the final one, Chris Paul, 4 years, about $15 million, $15.9 the last year when he was with the New Orleans Hornets. And then he was traded, of course, by David Stern off to the Clippers. And he was paid about $21.4 million a year. So those three contracts ate up to what the salary cap was at that time, right? Easily. Those three players could not have worked. The reason why Miami made it work is because everyone had to re-sign the three superstars, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, LeBron James. They all had to sign a contract around the $15 million range. And at that part, you make it 45, and you can find people at the mid-level exception. Gilbert Arenas saying you had about 20 or 30 million left. No, they didn't.
I don't know if Gilbert is saying that because I think there's a salary cap and a luxury tax. There's like a floor, and then there's if you go over the luxury tax, the salary cap's weird. It's like a dual salary cap, correct?
Yeah.
And so maybe he was talking about the ceiling and not the floor, but I mean, who knows? I mean, they're smoking a lot of weed in that show.
So it was go back to the salary cap photo again real quick.
And tax level is 70.
70, correct. So when you hit the 70 range is when you're going to get tax per dollar, and that would be going up, right?
Yeah.
So
it's 50 cents on the dollar, something like that, yeah.
You can make it work with 70. Again, like as we said in the first segment, Jeannie Buss and the Buss family, they're not as rich as the other NBA owners. So when the luxury tax, or I should say when the salary caps were increased because of the last lockout or the last negotiation, that doubled everything. Now you see the NBA payroll is like somewhere around 130, 140 million. That's double of what it is now. They were really like, oh crap. Like if I'm talking about the Jeannie Buss and like having to pinch pennies now to make the Lakers work for the family, I imagine them then when they didn't know it was going to be double the size of what it is. They'd be like, yeah, okay, like we'll pay $10 million in luxury tax. We're not going to pay 40. We're not going to pay 50. That would have happened with Dwight Howard, Chris Paul, and Kobe Bryant. So this whole notion of like this would have happened for 10 years of Chris Paul, Kobe, Dwight. Okay. Did we also want to play? Yeah, it could be butterfly effect. Yeah, it could be. Okay. Dwight Howard may have never been hurt. I think if we look into Dwight Howard's career, though, that was a crash course for what could have happened. Because if you trade to get Dwight Howard as a journeyman turns out to be the more grateful, the more humble, the more understanding, the higher basketball IQ. He's not the Dwight Howard that demands the ball and says, I want the ball when you have two better ball handlers and two better basketball scorers, when you have two better people with their IQs on the floor with you. And in the meanwhile, he's like, I want the ball. Give me the ball. Why? So you could turn over the ball again? I think the Lakers dodged the bullet. Because if, let's say, Chris Bosh, LeBron James, and Dwayne Wade do end up meeting Miami, I would pick the Miami Heat over the Lakers at that time. If your three superstars are Dwight Howard, who ends up to becoming this person that's eventually going to get humbled, Chris Paul, and then maybe a Kobe Bryant that tears his Achilles, that has a bad injury towards that part of his career, yeah, it's not going to be the whatever it is. Like, I'm sorry, we can go to the tweets real quick. There are some people that were saying like, oh, this cost Kobe this much. This is why. For example, Mac Daddy Mike, shake my head. Kobe always got the short end of the stick, shake my head. But now they letting players do anything. That's just crazy. Hold up. Okay, this is from Zachary. David Stern is forever a crook for blocking that trade. Hashtag Lake Show. I agree with that. David Stern is a crook. But Kobe always got the short end of the stick? What? Kobe has 5 championships. I think he's doing just fine.